Welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight, another episode featuring an inspiring individual making a difference in Israel. Today, our special guest is Marci Rapp, who I'm privileged to know her and her husband personally, co-founder of MarSea Modest Swimwear, with a play on the word Marci. They made Aliyah from Toronto, Canada in 2008, and 1 year later founded MarSea Modest Swimwear. 1 year later, which is not always easy for New Orleans to go into business straight away when they're still finding their feet in a new country. What does MarSea Modest Swimwear do? They are a proud Made in Israel label specializing in stylish and comfortable UV protective swimwear for women of all ages, including plus sizes, women who want to be covered for different reasons, whether it's for modesty, for health or medical reasons. And they provide a beautiful range where you can actually go out wearing them even if you're not at the ocean. So sit back, hear the story of how MarSea Modest Swimwear was founded. Marci also shares with us her journey. She was a kidney donor, and she shares with us that journey, which is something very special. Sit back and enjoy. Marci, welcome to our Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm so excited to have you here as our guest today. We've had the privilege of knowing each other for many years. In fact, if I'm correct, I've known you since you started your business, as we mentioned earlier. You made Aliyah in 2008, and in 2009, you started the business, which is not an easy thing for Olim shortly after they make Aliyah. So welcome, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Glad to be here, Lesley.
Excellent. So before we go into what you're doing now, your amazing business with MarSea Modest Swimwear, share with the viewers a bit about your life back in Toronto and before you made Aliyah, and what actually brought you to make Aliyah. Was it something that you had planned for a long time? Was it a quick decision?
I never thought about making Aliyah, but I had a series of miscarriages back in the day. And I don't want to cry, but my last pregnancy, which was my daughter, at candle lighting, I promised Hashem if he gave me this baby that I would make sure my kids would end up in Israel, would make Aliyah. Everybody was little kids then.
That is beautiful. That is so special. And you did that. Wow, that is incredible. So
Well,
how many years later after that did you make?
I did get my daughter and my boys. We had 3 boys and then this girl many years later, Rivka, but the boys made Aliyah after high school. They came to yeshiva and then to do army, and they stayed. I gotta get through this. And then my daughter, when she was 12, she said she wanted to make Aliyah. She wanted us to make Aliyah. So it got me thinking about it. And at the time, we had both my mother and mother-in-law living with us, my husband's mother. And when this was like in 2006, my mother passed away. And at the Shiva, I told Harold that that's it, we're making Aliyah. And I promised him I would find him a poker game in Israel. And so the next year I came with my mother-in-law and with my daughter. So in 2007, we came. My mother-in-law actually made Aliyah 2007. So we used her lift to bring all our furniture. Harold stayed behind because he had to sell the house and close up with his work. And then Rivka and I came back to Toronto the next year and brought Harold on Nefesh B'Nefesh on an Aliyah trip in 2008. So we've been officially here since 2008, and we came to join our sons, and because our daughter wanted to be here with her brothers and cousins.
I love that story. And you think you know someone, but yeah, I've known you for so many years and I didn't know that story. So it's incredible how there's always so much deeper. And also talking of your kids, I don't know all the kids, but I'm privileged to know one of your kids, Mordy. So hi, Mordy. I assume you're going to see this. So yeah, we have connection. We are in contact. So that's great. So I love that story. And tell us, what were you doing before you made Aliyah professionally?
Oh, in Toronto, I was in payroll. I was a payroll manager for a large corporation. And Harold was in human resources for a large corporation. And we both got downsized in the 80s. And so we started a business making kosher cheese in Toronto. So that's how we got our running a business experience. And
your introduction into entrepreneurship, per se.
Yeah, and I think we did that for about 8 years, and then circumstances happened that he went to join another food company, and I became a bookkeeper. So with my payroll experience, I ended up doing bookkeeping for our cheese company. But after that, I became a bookkeeper. Then we decided to make Aliyah. We didn't know what we were going to do, and for sure, my husband says there's no way we'll ever go into business in Israel.
You know what they say, like from what did they say? From God's mouth to somebody else's
Yeah.
ears. Interesting. Why did he say that? From entrepreneur experience in another country and then being in a foreign country, a
Foreign
different
country,
language,
foreign
everything?
language, the rules here are different. And plus we don't understand them all.
So
They,
how was
they,
MarSea born? And I love the play on the words MarSea, as in the ocean with the sea, and it just matches your name.
that was also the beginning of networking on Facebook and on the computer, and other women helped me come up with the name. And Mati offered a course in English, how to start a business in Israel. So that was good for networking.
What made you decide, though, yes, to start a business after you had said, I'm not going to start a business? Was it that you came and you saw that it wasn't so easy to find employment? You guys were still young in inverted commas, right? That you're still employable, although not a 30-year-old.
We were in our mid 50s by then and didn't have the language and were not employable. We didn't have any transferable skills to bring here for a company, like to work as an employee. And the truth is, because we were in a warm country, I needed something to wear to the beach. I wasn't wearing a regular bathing suit anymore. In Toronto, we didn't really go to the beach, so it never came up, but here it came up. And nothing I saw was really suitable for me. So I wanted to design my own. And my
I love that.
husband
In other words, you saw a niche in the market and you couldn't find it to buy it, so you created it.
yes. And in a style for shapely women, let's say. Now, a lot
Right,
of
which is
what's out
excellent.
there.
You're right. You go into these clothes stores and some of them are just made for like slim women. But I love also that all your stuff is blue and white. In other words, it's all made in Israel.
Yes, yes. We started off in Tel Aviv for a good 10 years, and that factory closed down, and now we're making somewhere else, but still in Israel.
So share
And
with us your journey of how MarSea Modest Swimwear started from investigating at the concept, finding your suppliers and putting it all together.
okay, because of the Mati course that we took, they helped me find a place to sew. First, a place to do patterns for me, a place to get fabric, and a place to sew. So that's how it started. So Mati was, without Mati, I wouldn't have been able to start the business.
And they also do for people that are interested and are starting off in business. Yes, there are many business coaches around, but they have an amazing experience in terms of also helping you source an idea, checking the viability of it. In other words, not just finding the suppliers for you, but actually doing the research for you, which is a separate service.
And they did the business plan for us, which we were then able to submit in order to get the additional funding that the government helps out with new owning businesses.
Which is fantastic. It's such an important service. That's about your journey of, okay, from doing the research, finding the supplier, the pattern maker, and all that. Where did you get your ideas about designs from? Were you looking on the internet? Were you looking at what's around in other countries?
I just had, I guess, in my head, my own ideas, or what I saw out there and what I tried on didn't fit. So I adjusted styles. And I also networked with people. What would they like to see?
That's the
So,
best kind of research, by the way, to find out what people are looking for, what they feel is lacking.
so we started with swim dresses only, and we started with prints. So first we went to the pattern maker, which was in Shoham. She was a Russian lady, but spoke English. And she helped me to design and get the patterns. And to do patterns, they're called cartons. And she would do a sample, and then we would base that sample on my size, and then we would go smaller sizes and larger sizes from there. Then we went to get fabric, and we were led to a place that we would have white fabric, and we bought prints from them, which was on some kind of tissue paper. and they put it through a machine. It was very interesting. They put it through a machine and the prints went on the fabric. So we had maybe 9 different prints of just swim dresses. And that's how we started. And I think we made about 300 pieces in, if I recall, maybe 5 sizes. And there was no e-commerce yet. This is 2009, 9, 10. 10 is when we went live. And we had what I call a flat website. You could not order on the website. The women had to email me that they I don't even know, they must have told me the name of the dress and the pattern and the size, and then I'd have to email them back. And that's how we sold. And we ended up selling, I guess, over the year, all the dresses. In the meantime, we started adding styles over the year. And then we went away from printing because the printing didn't hold up so well in the chlorine. And we went and went to other fabric that was better for chlorine. And we do some prints, but we don't print. We buy printed fabric, which holds up better in chlorine than what we were doing. Mati gave me this website. From there, we went to, I think, Weebly. We went to different sites that became e-commerce where women customers could order online, and that changed things. And then over time, we joined what was then called Modly, and our sales boomed from that because they did aggressive marketing, the importance of marketing. We joined Modly from 2014 until COVID, and then they closed down and they went on their own elsewhere. And so we were on our own, and I was faced with marketing issues. So we were on our own for a whole year. And then I was convinced to go to a new website, and we went from Weebly to BigCommerce. That for me was a big mistake. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't do anything on my own on BigCommerce. And we had 1 or 2 marketing people that really didn't do enough for us. And then I'm going to say last year, we moved to Shopify. I had a Miloimnik put us on, but then the war broke out and he couldn't do anything. So I had Shopify. I liked it. And then just this year, last December, sales were really bad between the war and no tourists and really dismal. We were almost ready to close up.
Wow.
We found this marketing guy in Mitzpeh. I don't know if I should say his name.
It'll be a free advert for him.
Yeah, Jonathan Dadoon. He's been Mina Shemayim for us. And it took a few months and he started marketing. He's using AI, making our pictures come alive and doing videos and doing marketing. And it has had a very positive effect.
I noticed that, by the way. I actually wanted to say to you, I've seen a difference in your marketing because we're connected on social media. I see your posts and I love your posts. And I noticed that they're from AI, and that's okay, and that they're beautiful. And it really, I can see that there's a difference. Somehow there's a difference in the strategy.
I'm going to backtrack a little. Over the years, we had to have product pictures for our catalog. So we started off with just, oh no, I'm not going to use real people. And so it was on mannequins, and either we blacked out the mannequins or started to include the mannequins. And then we moved to real people. So wait, back up. So those photo shoots were in our house with a white screen, and the photographer cleared everything in the back. And that was that. Then we moved to real people, real women. And that was a balagan because I got volunteers, but you had to have the right size for each woman, and they had to keep changing. And it was a big effort, but that was an improvement in pictures. And then I was told we have to have, I don't know what it was called, lifestyle shots. So then we had to get a bunch of girls and women, load up the car with clothing for swimwear for them, drive to Netanya to go to someone's apartment with a pool. And the photographer came and the pool was empty because it was being cleaned. It was a disaster. And we never got those pictures. And we had to take everybody out to dinner. So it was costly for that. And I gave everyone swimwear of the thing. So it was a cost, and we didn't get the pictures. We did one more photo shoot in our house, a simple photo shoot. Though that's what Jonathan has been able to use, the photos on the people, and he's able to change the people and change how it looks and either make them move or not make them move. But AI it's been amazing, and we're giving him Parnasa and he's helping us to have Parnasa.
Right. And are you seeing a difference in that with the different way of
yes,
marketing and the different
yes,
type of images?
yes.
I love hearing these stories behind the scenes. Just taking you back now, you've been in business for it's about 18 years,
yeah.
which is incredible. And for New Orleans to start a business 1 year after making Aliyah, yes, you had your hand held throughout the process, but still, that's not an easy feat. It's something that many people would not recommend to people so fresh off the boat.
So, like I said, my husband said we're never going to business, but we needed Parnasa, and we decided to take a chance because we saw once we're in Israel, there were systems in place to help you start a business. People like Mati, people like yourself.
And that's the whole thing about being in business as well. If you don't have a mindset where you are a risk taker, yes, obviously different people take different risks at different levels, but still being in business means taking risks, and just living means taking risks. We don't always know what awaits us tomorrow on the other side.
But we felt confident that we knew how to run a business, just not in Israel. That's what we weren't confident about. I knew the bookkeeping, accounting end. We knew how to sell. I knew textiles. I knew design. I do have a textile background.
And that is super important what you're saying, because if someone knows how to run a business, yes, you're planted in a different country now, different language, okay, which obviously has its challenges too. But still, once you've got that business knowledge, and you've also learned the hard way too. Running a business, we all make mistakes, and that's how we learn, that's how we grow. So you just change the industry and the country. I don't want to say just because it was a big deal, but I think that was a super important thing. It wasn't that you just said, okay, yeah, let's open a business. You actually had that background.
Yes, but also I had in mind over the years diversification. We diversified our products. We listened to the women, what kind of styles they want. I saw that plus size was very much needed. We also went into clothing for a while. We've wounded down from that. And we have all our clothing on clearance on the website because we have very little left in all sizes. But there's also the different ways of selling. There's online, there's at our home, there's going to pop-ups, there is using distributors, which have come and gone. And we have a few that are strong and have been with us for 10 years or more. And some have closed down, they've retired or whatever. Stores, we had a great store in Agrippus that was selling for us very well. And the building was sold, so she had to close her, it was like a bra store, she had to close her business after 25 years.
That's what exactly diversification, that's exactly what running a business is all about, is keeping your finger on the pulse all the time, and also not being stuck in one way, which is why many businesses fail, to be open to changes. Yes, there's the war, there was Corona, there's other things that happen online, offline, the arrival of AI, and adapting to the times and being flexible and open to adapting to the times.
So I know you're guiding me, but you bring in the war, and what did we do during the war and during COVID? So during COVID, we opened up, we did home deliveries. We would go to women because they couldn't go to stores. Stores were closed and everything. We came with masks and we went but where were they going swimming? Pools were closed. I guess
they were planning ahead.
Maybe planning ahead or going to a different country where there wasn't COVID or something. I don't remember that. And during the war, my manufacturer, I asked him, he had surplus of other things, and we went to hotels and we donated swimwear there of what my manufacturer gave me. He's a very kind person. And also whatever surplus that we had of some older things. We also raised money from donations to give our stuff to, like at the Ramada Hotel, they were providing swimming lessons to all the children at the hotel. And we raised money because we couldn't afford just to give away all the swimwear to give them swimwear. it was a hoot. We laid it out on the table and they converged like it was like so disorganized.
Wow. So you were giving back to the community as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, but also the injured soldiers things, diversification. We didn't make money on this, but we made tearaway pants for the injured soldiers that had leg injuries. We arranged to get swimwear for hydrotherapy for the soldiers. This is for men. I don't do men. But we made for physical therapy. Someone wanted to give money for us to make t-shirts and basketball shorts out of dry fit fabric for the soldiers, to injured soldiers, to do physiotherapy. So we did that and presented it to them at different hospitals. And
wow, that is so satisfying to see. They often say, and I'm a firm believer, that the person that gives often feels more satisfaction than the person that gains. And you truly were doing that, which is incredible.
We tried. There was no point us sitting here. We were trying to think, how can we use our skills and to help? We just didn't know how to help. And this is what fell into our lap. So that was
Wow,
good.
incredible, incredible. And look, that's also what running a business is about. Just as we said, adapting and learning by trial and error, and also giving to the community. So if I had to ask you if you would do things different now, what would you do different now if you had to open up shop today?
I think I'd have to ask my husband that if I can turn around and scream to him to ask him what he would do differently.
What would you say? What would you say?
I'm not thinking of anything. I'm okay with what we did. I can't think on one foot.
Not even in terms of running the business, but if you had to make Aliyah today, do you think this whole journey of starting a business? Look, I guess that's not a fair question because you're now almost 20 years older than when you did make Aliyah.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. If you weren't in modest swimwear, what would you be doing now?
I don't know. I don't know. We love what we're doing. We love working with both our manufacturers. I love helping women. I really love helping women. And I know I'm helping them. And I know they're happy when they find something that fits them and they don't feel embarrassed to go to the beach or to the pool or hiking or whatever. I do love that. I'm working with my husband. Our marriage is still intact, but with
Thank
the
God, because
business,
that's also another thing. Working with the spouse
yeah.
is not always so good on the marriage.
And the business part has been, we're in sync all the way. The only thing is, I'll tell you, see, this is brand new. We've gone to a navy line. This is a wild print. He didn't like it, but I said we're taking a chance. And
Colors,
at the
by the way,
pop-ups
those are
at
my
Cinema
colors.
at the pop-ups at Cinema City, we sold. Women like it. He was more, I don't know if I have samples here of, no, I don't have the samples of.
Look, one will always have different tastes. When you've got a partner in business, one will always have different tastes, and what one likes, the other one may not like. And sometimes it's just taking a risk on something. If you look at the logos, my logos on the screen here, you'll see they're totally in sync with the colors that you're describing.
Yeah,
And with the colors, those are my colors.
yeah.
Amazing. So I know that we're nearing the end of the podcast, and I will ask you at the end how people can reach you. I do want to just diverge for a moment. You're also well known, and you talk about it on social media, that you donated a kidney. Can we talk about that for a moment? How
Sure,
this whole thing came about? Did you know the person before? Was this when you were in Canada, I'm assuming, before you made Aliyah?
No, as a matter of fact, it was just as we were starting the business. So it was in 2009. I saw an ad in the paper about donating a kidney. I had heard about donating a kidney. Also, my son, Gershon, he had wanted to donate a kidney, but he was too young. So I never heard of such a thing. And then I heard that Lori Palatnik donated a kidney, Rebitson, and then also a woman I know had to fly to South Africa to get a kidney, and she had to raise money to do it. And I thought, that's terrible. They should be able to get a kidney in Israel. But halakhically, it was allowed. I learned from Lori Palatnik. And then I met another woman who also donated a kidney. So I answered the ad, and
Was
it was
this
in the
through
States.
Matnat Chaim?
This was through Kidney Mitzvah. She's in the States. I answered it, and she sent me to go do tests in somewhere in Tel Aviv, I think, and it was too difficult for me, so I dropped it. But then Chaya, I think her name is, she contacted me, and the ad was for a 49-year-old mother of 6 in Israel needs a kidney, that type of thing. And Chaya asked me if it'd be okay if the mother of this woman contacted me because she speaks English and she could help me. The mother's name is Ronnie, and she called me and it took off from there. She made sure I got all the necessary hafnayas and hikavud, what blood tests I had to do. She drove me
And to also know,
everywhere.
you didn't even know if there would be compatibility at that stage
She
initially.
took charge until we went to Balinson to do the tissue matching. The first tests that I had to do were just to see if I'm healthy enough to donate, which surprisingly, and this was 15 years ago, so however old I was. How was I? 72 minus 15.
All right.
Surprisingly, I was healthy enough, and you get a thorough workout. So it was kind of good for me to know that I was so healthy. And then we did the tissue matching in Balance. And of course, they drove me there. I didn't have to do anything. And there were two sisters that needed a kidney, the two of them. And I matched the younger sister, but I was a rare and perfect match for the older sister, Shulamit. And so I ended up donating to her. It was a long process because she had her own issues. She had to be in a position to receive the kidney. And we did that we just passed our 15th anniversary in June of this year. But unfortunately, after almost 15 years, her kidney failed.
Wow.
I think in January. And so she had to start dialysis again, and she had to seek a new donor.
But Baruch Hashem, you gave her 15 of good health.
And
that is just incredible.
It was really good for her. We're very close. She lives in Ofra, so we and my husband and her husband are very close. They talk all the time. She's found a new donor.
It's incredible. I hear about these relationships that are formed, and now we're actually hearing,
Yeah, but that's in Israel. That's in Israel, because what happened was she found her own donor. So that there's different methods of donating. Eventually, it was through Matnat Chaim. I didn't mention that. Once Ronnie took over, then it was through Matnat Chaim. And we've been in the Guinness Book of Records. The Matnat Chaim has provided kidneys for, I think it was over 2,000 recipients, the largest in the world in one country.
Wow, that is fantastic. Yeah, phenomenal. Such a mitzvah.
So we're still close, even though she's getting a new kidney, God willing, but she's not well enough to receive it.
How does your family feel, though, about you donating to a stranger? They're all for it? Were some of it a bit concerned with your own health?
Yeah. My daughter and one of my sons was obviously very for it. One of my sons said, "What do we need this aggravation for, or all this stress?" Was against it because he thought it would be too stressful for us.
And you were also newish, or Liam, you were starting a business at the same time. You weren't 20 or 30 years old.
Yeah. So some people are risk takers, some people are not. Some are more adventurous, some are not. For me, the mitzvah was like, this is a mitzvah I can do. I can't donate lots of money. I can't give a lot of time, but this was something I felt I could do, and I thought it would give me some points. And it's a little bit of give back because I got my daughter and we were able to make
that is amazing. The gratitude behind it, phenomenal. Wow.
My husband, on the other hand, he was parv. He wasn't against it, but he wasn't for it. He was concerned. His one request that it wouldn't be during swimwear season. And the donation ended up happening in June.
Oh, wow, the middle of swimwear. Listen, sometimes one can't plan exactly. So I guess the business load all fell on him. Wow, that's incredible. And I see you very active and vocal about talking about it, which is so important because it makes other people aware of the mitzvah of giving. Time has actually come to an end. So before we wrap up, please share with our viewers, how can they reach you? Give your website if you want to give any other details.
Oh, I wish I had my flyer here. Here's a flyer. One of the flyers that you made. It might be an old one.
Okay. So read out the website because not everyone can see it, but it will be in the show notes as well.
Okay. MarSeaModest.com. MarSeaModest. MarSeaModest.com.
All right. Amazing. And through there, they can make contact with you also. And you, as we saw, you sell in so many different ways. You do pop-ups, you're online, you're at different places. So you're definitely in Israel a household name, and I'm sure to many abroad as well. As we end this, just one last question. Moving forward, where do you see yourself in the years to come on a personal side, from a business point of view?
We're hoping these pop-ups at Cinema City will get us back to where we want to get so we can start having a little bit of fun. We're having fun in the business, but we want to have fun outside of the business. And like I said, the COVID and the war really hurt us, and leaving Modely hurt us. We're not thinking of retiring yet. We still enjoy the business, and it's not hard as long as we're selling, and we like it. We like meeting people, and God willing, our health will and finances will allow us to keep on going.
Amen, amen, amen. I love it. The 70s of today is like the 50s, right? It's like the 50s of what was before. So Marci Rapp of MarSea Modest Swimwear, who I have the privilege of knowing personally, it was great having you on our Monday Motivation Spotlight. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Wishing you and Harold, who I've also met personally, much continued hatzlacha in your journey, and keep on producing creative and wonderful items for women for whatever reason they're choosing to use it and wear it. And of course, the fact that it's made in Israel gives you an extra tick, as they say, because that's super special. You're supporting, when you buy MarSea Modest, you're supporting an Israeli-made business. Thank you also to our viewers for watching. Always a big thank you to our sponsors, to Eggert & Cohn Insurance and to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem. I'm Lesley Kaplan, and we'll see you next week on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Bye-bye.